Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome on into the Dragon's Den. My name's Digital Dragon. I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. What does that mean? Well, it means I do everything from building and assembling printers to modifying printers, many of which you see behind me today. I do some prototyping as well as just various 3D printing projects, one of which we'll be working on some today. But I will say, today is not going to be one of my normal unlimited streams. I do have a tight cutoff at 8 p.m. for two reasons. One, I have dinner being delivered at 8, and two, I got to go back and do work stuff. So, hey, Pete, how's it going? Welcome on in. Mayhem, welcome in. Aaron 3DP, welcome in. And thank you, sir, for the resubscribe. Let's see, who else? Mr. Wizix, Phantom, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Oh yeah, work stuff. It really sucks when like 4:30 you're getting ready to shut everything down and your boss is like, "Hey Luke, can you chat?" So we're getting close to the end of quarter metrics. The VP was briefed on the metrics. The metrics look like crap, and we need to get them from red to green like immediately. So I'm now going to be having a meeting first thing in the morning that people aren't aware of yet, because that's what I'm going to be doing after a stream tonight, is setting up a meeting invite for first thing in the morning. You tell them how their week's going to go. Always great. Other than that, hope everybody else is doing well. Normally I would have pushed the stream or just canceled the stream and worked on that, but I need a kumbaya moment, and you guys are my kumbaya moment. So welcome on in. By the way, folks, we're rocking the MakerMind Nexus Cup tonight. Well, we are caring about our people first, Pete. We're caring about the, I don't know, are we caring about the 4,000 plus people that we laid off almost 2 months ago, or the people that are left that have just been reorged? Or yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to cut this off because it's getting to the point where I can't actually get hold of it now. So that's the other thing I need to try and do tonight is cut this down to the rest of the shininess up here. But what are we working on tonight? Well, tonight, and believe it or not, I have cleaned this up some. Right, I've cleaned this up some. I don't know what I did with it, but I cleaned it up some. Um. Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's like, are we focusing on running a scan, or are we focusing on addressing this other issue over, it is what it is. But yes, we are going to be working on bots, and I've got this one fairly close. And we're going to use this one to kind of get the other one into the same state. So what we've got here is a basic generic spinner. Okay, just horizontal spinner. It is upside down, or no, it's right side up. So it's a 3D printed body. We're using a, whoops, I'm like seeing here, like I've got this camera here set up. So let me switch this camera on. We'll get you a little bit. So it's a horizontal spinner. Okay. It's a 3D printed body with 3D printed motor mounts, and then a spinner bar here that's 3D printed. Now, you guys may recognize this color. This is the ASA Pop Pink, and this is the polycarbonate carbon fiber, which will make up the spinner. These are beginner bots. They're 150 gram, and we are coming in under 150 gram, and I'll talk more about that. We are using some what they call N20 motors, and the motors I'm using are from DF Robotics, and they've got ESCs directly on the motors. So the nice thing about that is I don't need to have a separate ESC for all the motors. The only thing I need an ESC for is my brushless motor that drives the spinner. And so that is this piece right here. Um, this little piece is my 4-channel receiver. We'll have our two servos or servos. Normally they're all servos, but we've got our two connections going over to our two drive motors. We've got and these have negative power and signal. And then our ESC doesn't require the signal, or I'm sorry, the power. So we just have signal and ground into channel 3. And then channel 4 is the power channel. Okay. So we're going to need to come off of our 2-cell. This is a 200 milliamp hour battery. So we're going to come off of here and join it in with our ESC and then bring it into the receiver. The receiver can accept the full power from a 2S battery pack, so we don't need a battery eliminator circuit, which just kind of makes things a little bit easier, theoretically speaking. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these wires down and replace these silicone wires, which are heavier. Sorry. We're going to replace the silicone wires here with, oh no, what did I do with them? With some other wires that I've kind of sort of started to pre-cut. What it is a single wire. I stripped a good portion off the end, and then I started to strip the middle and just spread it out. And what this will allow me to do, cut this, slice this in right here. This end will get attached directly into the negative side of the receiver. This end's going to come up and go to one leg on a switch. Same thing for the positive, or I'm sorry, not on the switch. This is going to come in and go into a connector that will go into the battery pack. Okay, so this provides the ground to the battery pack. And then the other side of the battery pack on the positive side will do the same type of jumper, but it's going to come into a switch and then from the switch into the other side of the battery pack. So we've got a little bit more wiring to do, but we're getting rid of a length of this wire, which is, like I said, heavier than the similar FEP wire, just because that silicone insulation is going to be heavier than the FEP wire. All of this wiring here is 18 gauge. So we're running some heavier wire. I could probably get away with 20 gauge, but it's 18 gauge already, and I don't want to go from 20 into 18. So that's kind of what we've been doing. Hey ma'am, how's it going? Nick, welcome in. And let me see, give me 1 second. I think I've got the video still up over here on the laptop. And if so, I will grab that. Probably throw it in chat here. There we go. So I just added into the chat the YouTube link. And these are the folks I'm following their tutorial to build this one. there's another tutorial that I'm going to do off of Instructables. That'll be, a similar style of robot, but a little, so a similar style, but a little bit different. It won't use the arm like this. It actually is fully printed, I believe. But what you'll see here is this particular arm. I laid it in place, figured out where it was, and I used one of my hobby knives just to scribe a line there. Okay, right at the joint between this arm and this piece. I then took this arm and used a file and scratched up the surface so that it have better adhesion than this slick carbon fiber, right? And so then we use some 2-part Gorilla Epoxy, and I slathered epoxy on both the part and the carbon fiber arm, put them together, use some M3 button screws and some M3 nuts, and just screw these down. So these two bolts, one, aren't coming out because they're epoxied in, and they're being used just to provide the clamping force to clamp this in. That's why you didn't see me do all four, because it just adds weight and it doesn't, I just need a clamping force, right? And by using only the two in the front here, what that allows me to do is, one, we put some hot glue over these to protect anything in here from hitting these two. But that will allow me to then take my battery and slide it down in this gap between there and the back. So it kind of helps push that battery back here and keeps it out of the way. And it stays right in between these two motors. And once again, the only real connectors were these two, because I'm not going to take these off and hardwire them. And the one for the battery, because I'll need to be able to bring the battery out and charge them up. So I didn't want to cut these off and wire things in. So yeah, that's how that's going to fit in here one way or the other. And it's really the way I've kind of laid things out is our 3 wires from our brushless motor I mounted to the back in such a way that when I'm done, my brushless motor, or my ESC for my brushless motor, is just going to kind of tuck into one side. The receiver is going to tuck over here in the other side, kind of like my antenna is going to go over here towards the ESC. So it's going to sort of be something like this. Of course, this will come over, this will come here, and we'll have our battery pack, and our switch is going to find a place in here somewhere, right? And then what we'll do is we'll take a thin piece of plastic, like a thin wall of a soda bottle or a drink bottle, right? And we'll add little Velcro tabs, and we'll just cut out a top for this that will sit down in the back and have little tabs that'll Velcro in on the side. And that's all the cover. We're not going to have like crazy armor, because once again, 150 grams all up. And it's to the point that the wheels that I originally bought, both of these wheels together are, let me think, each one of these is like 7 grams. So these 2 wheels are like 14 grams. I ordered new wheels that are coming in, and the pair of new wheels will weigh as much as one of these. So I'm saving like 7 grams just changing wheels. That just gives me more room for wiring and the switch and stuff like that that I so it's kind of crazy, but when you start getting down into 150-gram robots, it gets real tight on what you can put onto the robot and what you can't and what you wind up having to take. So I may use these somewhere else, but I'm not going to be able to use them for this robot and stay within 150 grams. So what I want to do before I kind of start going the next set on this is get the other robot kind of at this same stage. And then I'm going to start troubleshooting the rest of the way. Once again, we put in some hot snot here. And then even with the motor mounts here, the motors had a little play to them. So what I did was I pushed them in, put a little hot glue around them, and then push them back in. So what I would be able to do is take the four M2x10 self-tapping screws out, and I can lift this off and then, dig out the motor if I ever burn up one of these motors and need to replace them. But these are N20 and they've got a metal gearbox to them, and it's a 50 to 1 gearbox. So they're a little less speedy than a 30 to 1 gearbox. But as this is my wife's first time doing these little robots, I think having a higher gear ratio, which makes them go a little slower, is pretty good. Building a battle bot, a battle bot, a salad. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. At 150 grams, I've eaten salads that are heavier than these. Um, but this is a really good um, use of materials. It's really not that expensive. And if you really wanted to save weight, you could really go like just with two of these. And I would suggest like this one and this one, and then this one and this one. And then that way, if you wanted to, you could use these two outer holes as mount points for screwing down your top. My plan is just to make a lip so it feeds down, comes over, just doing a little bit of hand bending, um, or maybe even some heat forming with a thin sheet of a, like I said, 2-liter bottle or something like that. Got to see what I've got. I'm going to figure out how heavy I go with plastic on this based on what weight I have left. Okay. Yeah. So with that, what I'm really going to do here is use my offcuts from when I did this one to cut these two down. And then we'll get in here and start doing some soldering. And like I said, we're going to solder directly to the board so that we're getting rid of the weight of, the pins, the pins on these, the connectors on these. I mean, I will go and throw these on the gram scale. Let me grab the gram scale. I'll be right back. Hold on one second. Okay, so we got our kitchen scale here, and let's see if I can set this over here and get it on a level surface. You guys are so kitchen scale, it's zeroed out. As we stand right now with that stuff in there. We'll toss a battery in there. We're going to need a switch and a couple of M5 screws. So because this is a printed part, we're going to need a couple of M5 screws to basically provide the teeth for our weapon. Okay. And because this weapon gets up and spins pretty darn fast, I mean, basically we're using quadcopter motors, right? So um, those quadcopter motors go really fast. So these two bolts right here are, which are flathead countersunk screws that we're going to leave protruding out. We're going to have to epoxy these ends so there's no chance of them coming out. So we've got all of our electronics in there. We've got our battery in there. We've got our two bolts that we're going to add to our arm. We're going to toss on our two little strips of wire. We're going to need a little bit more, but that's close enough for right now. We're going to need a switch. Let me tell you, this is a tiny switch. Exactly. Remurf is like still 3 months away, right? There's our on-off switch, right? So we're going to do some tiny soldering today. What else do we have? The on-off switch, a couple of more pieces of that, screws, that, and the wheels. Once again, we're at 131-ish right now. Battery, switch, bolt. If we add on our wheels here, we're at 146. Okay. And like I said, we're going to use different wheels that are half the weight of these. So if I take one of these off, we drop down to 139. And so at 139, we'll go 140 because we'll have a little bit of epoxy and a little bit more, some difference on the wiring. That gives me 10 grams still to put a plastic piece on here and potentially a skid underneath here. I may replace this cone with a M5 lock wire or a lock nut and make like a little skid that sits down here. Because once again, this is the way it drives, but if it hits something and gets flipped over, the wheels are such that it can still drive like this, but all of the weight's down here. So it could tip down, and now we're hitting the weapon. So if we have a little skid, it could stay up. Or I think I may be able to use this propeller end as basically like a top. It's going to cause friction and possibly slow me down, but it's rounded enough that I think that may still work just well for it. But hey, Shaudel, welcome in. Welcome in. And hey, Zombie, how's it going? Sally Prince, good evening. Yeah, Zombie, all the stuff you're doing for that show, and I've already lost my mind with things going on at work and everything. I'm just like, whatever is whatever. I have to get this project done because this is for my wife to run at the show. That's it. If I take Salad Fork and I haven't got it tuned in, I can tune Salad Fork there. Really, the issue with Salad Fork is we've had it printing and it printed just fine, but I was out there trying to print again, and the Z offset's all jacked up on it. So I got to redo the Z offset and start printing on it again, which I'd probably have to redo once I get to Remurf anyhow, because it's going to travel across the country in a car. But yeah, it's down to the bare minimum that I have to do to make my wife happy because she's willing to go to this show. And with any luck, they let her run these and she'll be happy. If not, then she may be running my Death Racer. God only knows. And quite honestly, I haven't seen my Death Racer because Evil Diesel's been tweaking on it and printing, you know, customizing it. So I don't even know what that's going to look like until he brings it over later in this week. But this is how bad it is. Mrs. Dragon comes home on Thursday. So we will not be streaming Thursday night, folks. Let me get that out there right now. We are not streaming Thursday night. I may stream tomorrow night. We'll see. But no stream on Thursday night. And she was planning on turning around and leaving Saturday to start driving out to Colorado. I think I've convinced her to wait until Sunday and get at least 2 good nights of sleep before she leaves. Oh, exactly, Nick. I got to get my butt in gear because, like I said, I've got a hard stop at 8. Um, and I, and like I said, I'm still waiting on like wheels and the connector I need to do the connection here. I ordered connectors, but I got the was it female pin male connectors, and I actually need the female PH connectors with the male pins that go with this. So I've got more of those on order. So I'm just going to use this because this is going to be the link for one of them. Hey, Timor, you're just dropping in to say hi? Well, I appreciate that. We are working on the battle bots for Mrs. Dragon tonight because I have got to get these things done. Anything else that I need to get done can be done at the table at the far end, but I need these up and running because these have to go with Miss Dragon. I'm not going to try and carry lithium batteries and everything on the plane. I want all of the death racers and battle bots and stuff going with Mrs. Dragon. Okay. About what do we take off? Um, Basically, what we're winding up with is a his and hers or a primary and a spare. They're going to be set up the exact same way. So we can either run them together, or if one breaks, we've got the other one that can jump in and be a spare. Hey, Mrs. Dragon, how's it going? Yeah, I told you guys, now she's lurking and she's going to stay on top of me to get this done. And she's making sure that I'm getting things done. That I'm not working on the other printer that's sitting behind me on the floor. And quite honestly, I can't work on the other one sitting behind me on the floor because I'm still waiting for wire to come in. And the other printer on the floor that I'm talking about is Black Box, the Trident 350. This one is just tuning IRCFA. She's printing fine. It's IRCFA tuning. So I've got to mess with that. This one's printing, or not printing, but this one I'm waiting on 20 gauge black wire to come. But we're going to go ahead and try and get some soldering going. Um, got to come completely apart, but it works. Oh, my wire strip. Yeah, I can do it. I can get this done. And if I need help with like the RC stuff, then I just get Evil Diesel over here. Oh crap. How can I be in trouble already, Mrs. Dragon? I made it sound like that was you. Oh, hey. Ooh. Sorry, that was Evil Diesel. He's been printing yeah. We'll just say we'll you'll see the Death Racer at Remurf, and I will post things once we get to Remurf with the Death Racer. Um, because I could show you things right now that he's working on, and it may be changed completely by the time we get there, knowing him. So we're just taking off a little bit of the wires because basically we're going to use the wires as pins going into our receiver. So I'm just bending these out of the way so that I can strip all three of them easier without pulling all the wires completely apart. Wire management when you're getting small fiddly things. So guys, I like the Chaotic Labs carbon fiber rods and stuff. That printer makes a racket now, and I don't know why. Okay, whoops. Those two, I need to do this one as well. And I'm just dropping these on a paper towel that I have right underneath here on the shelf. A nice thing to have now. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do? We're going to look at my template here. Long one on the outside, the short one on the inside. Okay. So on our receivers, okay, we've got different style or not same receiver. There we go. Okay, so round is the bottom, power is the middle, the signals at the top of this. Pick the camera that doesn't like to focus. And it should go, look at the other one. Interesting, the channel markings aren't listed on this one, but it should go 1, 2, 3, 4. So channel one's by the bind button. And normally what you would do is apply power here and you would use a binding pin, but there's no binding pin here. So we should just be able to do the button. I'm going to have to, that's the thing I'm going to have to do and try with the other remote that I have down there. But we're going to go ahead and work on getting this soldered up. So we're going to do the long one in channel 1. I'm just thinking through here. Might get interesting, but yeah, we'll do the long one. So the long one comes to this side and the shorter one's coming to this side. Because I think I was originally thinking that, oh, well, this is the left, thinking it goes like this, and it doesn't. It rides like this. Maybe, I don't know. Anyhow, we can fix that. If I need to pull it apart and resolder it, we can. The other thing I'll wind up doing, besides trying to do the fiddly thing of fitting small wires side by side into 3 small holes, is when I'm done, I'm either going to put, when I'm done and verify, I'm going to put either some hot glue or heat shrink tubing to cover all the solder joints on here. That's just to provide a additional protective measure. Now comes the fun part. Small and fiddly. Asparagus was at the market. Nice. Now, was it regular asparagus or um was it white asparagus? It, all right, dang it. Me and my fingers are not working. Probably because I'm trying to do this on camera. And I did this the other night. It just, everything worked nicely. Trying to make sure that the wires are in there and that basically they're pushed through as much as possible so that I can get a, and you pull it back out. Anybody knows a good way of holding tiny wires like You say crimping ain't easy, but it is a lot easier crimping than soldering these little tiny wires. That's for sure. I crimping the wire harness for black box. You know, 5 runs from the board to the various tool docks, then another 5 from the tool docks to the tool heads, and all kinds of craziness. Oh, a little thin asparagus, nice. That sounds good. Oh, hey sis, how's it going? How's Mia doing? So we're doing our standard 300 on our soldering iron. I'm just going to say prime my tip a little bit. And just like that, that one should be good. Solder joints with no interwire connections, so that's good. Bend that out of the way a little bit. Try and do the next 3, hopefully with not as much fiddliness and issues. And signal at the top and signal at the top, power at the bottom, or kind of just leave it sitting there straight up and down. Make sure our wires actually stayed in. Pretty bad when I'm just going to bring out the camera to say, yep, yep, wires are jammed in. Mia is sick? Oh no! Oh, it's backwards sneezing. Is that like where she sneezes and blows herself back because she's so small, or what? Yeah, East Coast, East Coast. What the heck happened? Apparently, my soldering iron decided to shut off, or I hit it or something. Now we're going to take a quick gander at that with our camera. I'm just looking with my camera to make sure that my solder joints are good, and they are. Well, if it'll come through for you guys, but solder joint. Good, making sure the little fiddly things are not touching. Pretty sad when, you gotta do things like that. In this next one, we're gonna do our ESC, get our ESC joined onto here, and that's gonna go in the third channel. And once again, the white is gonna go into signal, the black is gonna go into the negative, and we're not providing power through the logic side of this. Everything, all the power is gonna go directly to the motors or to the brushless motor. And it's literally just, it says send power, don't send. May have to do these one at a time. See how fiddly it is to get. Like I get one lined up and then the other one kind of flakes out on me. Place 2 silicone wires in your fingers. Yeah, now if I can keep it there. This is what silicone wires is enough push up on them to keep them inserted sufficiently. Contact up. The other one, eh, functional. That be functional. Okay. Now the other thing I need to do is attach my other motor to these three sides of the ESC. So, actually, which side did I go? Other side, back side. Okay, this side actually. So what I'm going to do is get this clipped in here, and I'm going to Just get some solder on those 3 pads. Not gonna take a lot, so apply a little heat. Pad. Now, need to go grab the other motor, which is in the box over here. Now, because these are quadcopter motors, and I'm pretty darn sure I ordered the right one, or that I used the right ones. You have clockwise and counterclockwise. And I think I ordered all of these to be, let me see. Okay, so these are left-handed threads, right? That means this one spins, yeah, counterclockwise, so it keeps on. So the red ones, the ones with the black um, ends are the counter rotating ones. The ones with the silver tip could be the ones that are rotating in the direction that we believe that's right. Well, I am sorry to hear that little Miss Mia is sick. That is not good. Do not like that. And what I did on the other one is rather than cut the lengths, I like the length is pretty good. Um, and I could cut these down a little bit. They're a little long, but what I was doing to give me a better contact patch is just taking my forceps and bending the wire tip around in almost like a C shape, doing like a little hook. Almost like you were hooking it around a wire on an electrical outlet. And that just gives me a little more area to work with. And I'm going to try and tin these real fast. And now I'm going to come in here and just 1, 2, 3, link these and solder them in here. Nicely. Once again, probably not the best or cleanest. Come on, darn it. Focus. Not the best or cleanest, but definitely functional. Like I said, I will put some uh, hot snot, whatchamacallit on there to keep things from inappropriate electrical conductivity, especially as things are getting nudged around in a BattleBot arena. Oh, oh, that's not good. So it's almost like she's hyperventilating or something. Okay, so this part is now done, and we're kind of to the same point as this almost, except for mounting it. It does come with some mounting screws. So if you have these, use them. If not, then, they're M2 of some length. So we're going to take this, we're going to unscrew doesn't matter about unscrewing the top. We're going to line this up, and we want to line this up so that it lines up in the top, bottom, left, right slots, or however it will align. And once we get one close, we will get one of our screws in, and then we'll use that as basically the pivot point to start getting everything else aligned. And when we do this, we want to Loctite it, right? We always want to Loctite these things. So the last thing we need is a spinner motor coming off, or the spinner itself coming off and going flying around because stuff was not Loctited in there. Hey, Shenanigans, how's it going? Yeah, I figured you'd be excited at this. And I hope your conferences went well today and your meetings. Let's not forget to take the one out that we were using as our initial placeholder and put that back in. Trying to make sure that this is centered on our arm as best as possible. Okay. So with that done, not going to need this. This would be your 90-degree angle for your pinout. With that done, be able to bring our board in like so. This goes here like 4. Yes. Okay, so now all we need to do is work on the actual battery circuit. And once again, I'm not going to be able to get that completed tonight simply because um, I need the female version of these, or the female version of these connector housings, which I don't have. They're coming tonight. So shenanigans and everybody else who has joined late. I just posted a link. This is the YouTube guy, and remember his the group he's with. But there's several different groups that have these little battle bots. These are 150-gram battle bots. Okay, as we are showing here, probably not. Let me pull stuff off, tear it out. Okay. Okay. So still need to put the, oh, that's okay. So we've got the main BattleBot chassis, okay, main BattleBot chassis and everything. A little bit more of the wire that we're going to use. We're going to trim some of that out, but we're close. We're going to have a screw on each side that provides the biting teeth. We're going to need to put in our switch, our tiny on-off switch, and wheels, okay? Now, if we go with both of these wheels, we're hitting 147, 146 grams. That's kind of getting close to the 150 limit. I ordered different wheels. The wheels that I have coming in that should be here, I believe, Friday. Those 2 wheels amounts to basically one of these wheels. Let me take that off. We're now at 139. That still gives me 10 grams to play with. And maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, because like I said, some of this wire is coming off just to use the FEP wiring. We're going to have a connector and a couple of pins, but we're going to be close. We need to add a plastic covering from like a pop bottle. We'll make a plastic cover for the top here, and a little bit of epoxy to epoxy these screws in, because we don't want these coming out and going flying around, becoming speeding projectiles. Now this is ASA Pop Pink, and the spinner is a polycarbonate carbon fiber spinner. So if I take the wheel off, leave everything else there, pull this one off, put that one on, add its spinner and the wheel, we're at 122 grams. Oh, I guess it would help if I add the battery in there as well. Let me add the battery in. I was like, why are we that far off? Add the battery in there as well. So we're at 136. So we're a little bit less on this model. This is PLA. The red parts are PLA. Sorcerer's Red PLA Pro. from Polymaker. Both of these are Polymaker, and the spinner is Prilene carbon fiber or polycarbonate carbon fiber. Okay. Once again, this is 136. If I pull this, put this one over here, add its wheel in, we're at 139. So we're 3 gram difference in the printed chassis parts between ASA and PLA Pro, right? Because I cut all the wires to the same length, and that's the other thing I wanted. We'll grab this stuff off. The end result is at the end of the day, we need to be under 150 grams. Now, what I'm going to do is see what are the wire lengths. No, I can't. Stop talking to me. My phone was trying to be helpful. So the wires that I have reduced are 5+ grams that I've saved just in taking off the just shortening up wires. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much just some silicone wires and the pins and stuff are. And yes, these are carbon fiber drone arms. They are epoxied in, and these 2 screws really aren't needed except to provide the clamping force. But because we slather epoxy on the bottom of both the arm and the printed part, we're using these to clamp them together. So they're not coming back out without destroying things. And then what we do to protect our electronics, both from getting damaged and everything else, is we just used hot glue to cover up those screw ends. Probably need to put a little bit more in there or peel that off and redo this one. I didn't get this as good. And yeah, so by doing the 2 screws in front, it creates a nice little pocket back there that our battery slides into and kind of holds it right there in the back. And we're kind of laying everything in here so our wires come right down into the slot there. We connected them on the back side of the ESC so we can fold that ESC back here. Wire lengths are long enough that our receiver sits here with the antenna going down through the gap. This plugs into this motor. The shorter one plugs into this motor. These are going to get trimmed shorter, and we're going to have a connector with the black wires coming direct. We're going to trim these down. We've got a length of black and red 18 gauge cable in FEP. This end goes into our receiver in the last slot here. I'm talking and you guys can't see any of this. This is great. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is get our black and red FEP wires trimmed off and into our receiver. And then we basically created these notches in the wire that we folded over to give us a good spot. We're going to trim these down and join them here, right? So this connects to the receiver. This connects to the ESC. This leg's going to come up, and on the red, it's going to go into our switch. And then the other side of the switch goes into the battery. The black, once again, we're cutting short this wire, and this leg directly goes into the connector that's going to go into our battery. So that's kind of how we're doing that to give us a a lockout on off switch. The battery comes into the outer leg. The connection that goes into the ESC and the receiver then goes into the middle leg. And so that way, when it's in this position, the battery circuit is on. When it comes over to this position, it's connecting the middle and the dead leg that's not connected to it. And what I will probably do is just cut off that dead leg so that it's not even an option of having anything connected to it. So it's either, an open circuit or the closed circuit with the battery. And yes, that is, like I said, that is a carbon fiber quad arm. And, everything else is like there's three prints. There's two of the motor mounts and the shell, and that's it. You're done. And by having a clear, like thin pop bottle top on here, it provides some protection. But, and this is the big thing, you have to have an on-off light, right? So if your receiver, and this receiver should have a tiny surface mounted LED on it, and as long as that's visible, we're good. If it's not visible or if it dies, then we'll have to add an LED in as well so that we have an LED that's visible that shows that power's on. Once again, our coffee cup tonight is the MakerMind Nexus coffee cup. So, okay, 7:13, running low on time. Trying to think real fast. So let's pull these back out to a degree so that we can add our black and red wire in here. And in fact, I need to actually figure these links out and cut a couple. A couple more links. Like I said, this is 18 gauge FEP wire. Um, I keep saying 18. Yeah, it is 20. We'll go with 18. Getting my wiring practice in on the black box. And let me tell you, building wiring harnesses is fun. Spent 3 days doing it already, and I'm still not done. Partly because I'm waiting for some 20 gauge black wire. I could do it today with 20 gauge red wire if I really wanted to, just mark it as such, but I don't think that's a good idea. Don't think that's a good idea. Just going to make these two match. Okay. Now we get to play the trick. So the trick is Probably should use these more often, but the trick is to get a decent amount off the end here exposed. Okay. Because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of measure out, and 18 and not 20. Then you start to pull this over, right? Like that. That gives you the gap. And with that gap, all I did was fold it over on itself. That gives me the Y connection that I need. And I can take this end and cut this wire down to the appropriate length. And now I can take this and throw it over in the pile, take this one and throw it over in the pile, and we'll have our length. This end goes over to the receiver. This end joins this. This leg can then come up and join into my switch or go directly into the connector that's going to connect to my battery. Hey, Bexy Beans, how's it going? Slides in to send loves and hugs. Well, welcome in, Bexy Beans, and thank you for the 100 biddies. I appreciate that. Cool to see you here. So yeah, and the nice thing is we'll be able to keep this down, slide some shrink tube over that as well, and get that heat shrinked on there to protect our wires. Need to plan for that. Good. That'll work. There we go. That we'll have a little bit for the other one. How are you doing tonight, Bexy Beans? I'm doing great. I am doing great. We are working on battle bots for Mrs. Dragon, so they're ready to go for Rocky Mountain Rep Rep. So we're just gonna we're getting close in our wiring here, so that's good. Getting closer to the end. Is like I said, this is a little trick that I've done whenever you need to make like a Y connection. You're just pulling that, you're stripping the end for a good length, opening it up, you're bending it over, and that'll give you a good place to do a solder butt joint on the other one or with the other wire and make your Y connect. So this over that. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've got you'll probably see Carrot, I was going to say shenanigans. Know him as shenanigans, but from a tribe perspective, you'll know him as Carrot. He's lurking around in here. There's a few other people from the tribe that are over here as well. So those of you that don't know, Bexy Bean is a Disney princess. I was gonna say cosplayer, but you're not a cosplayer. She's like actually a Disney princess over in the UK. Like she dresses up as the Disney princesses over in the UK for various events. Shows. So that is kind of cool. And I found her over on Free Heathen, and that's what we mean by tribe. If you're not familiar with the Free Heathen and his tribe of makers, right? We're all hooligans in the maker world. We all have our little differences that we do in the maker world, whether it's 3D printing or cosplay or just some type of making in general. And yeah, so I'm going to need our receiver once again. Going in this side. Hold this, keep everything out of the way, but still be able to get the round is all the way at the bottom. Round at the bottom. Using as Liz, yeah. Yeah, we're all good. Get along well. We get along well. We're gonna get our soldering iron warming back up. I'm gonna try not to knock that over and burn myself. And we're gonna need a oofta. Yeah, that's not. I just did all this with 18 gauge, and that is so not going to work. Okay, so we're going to have to pivot. While I redo these little bits and bobs with 20 gauge. We see, which I don't have black ones, so that's good. Or at least not in that type. Do I have? Do I have a? Sorry, gang. trying to look around and see what I got. So this is 20 gauge. Real fast, I'm going to pop an end off this and see if 20 gauge will even get in there. I'm going to have to do 24 to get into the radio. Oh, didn't want to do that. We will do what we need to do. Yeah, 20 gauge is just going to fit in. All right, so let's see and hope if we've got enough 20 gauge. I think we do. Yeah, we got plenty. You guys are like not able to see what I'm. So we got 20 gauge here. Peel one of these back and middle length going again. Two black and I'll need two red. Mr. Wizards, welcome back in. Welcome back in. Um, Once again, folks, I do have a hard stop in half an hour. So partly because that's when dinner's getting here, and partly because I got to jump back on and do some work and set up a meeting for tomorrow. It's not what I wanted to do tonight, but you know, is what it is. Is what it is. Okay, so let's get these prepared. What we did before. Bigger piece. Find all gap space that we need. Too much. So let me see if I can push it back on. Come on. Come on. A little too much. Let's try that again and try not to be too happy in my with my second thingamajig. So we're just trying to do basically like that, where we're doing a gap here in the middle, and we can bend it over on itself. That gives us the good point then to do the soldering. One done. Okay. And all we're doing is dropping down from 20 gauge to, or I'm sorry, from 18 gauge to 20 gauge. Since we've got the iron hot, let's go ahead and see about getting this inserted and soldered in. So one piece is there. And they're nice and good, and I'm going to be able to trim that, so that's even better. One down, three more to go. So yeah, we're trying to do a little battle bot. Um, we're just trying to do a little battle bot here that we can have at Rocky Mountain, and then we'll have our big death racer as well. And I may have another surprise if I can get the get my other little project working. I might take it to the show just to have it, And if I can get it working, great. If not, then no big deal. We'll just set in the crate. We'll bring it home with us. But okay, well, this one goes into power, which is the center. Easier said than done. Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. Your pizza says it's been delivered and it hasn't. Uh-oh. Yeah, mine is actually, I just got notified that it's in the oven because I ordered it for an 8 p.m. delivery. So it's actually being made right now. Here we go. In there. Go through and add a little bit of heat to this and get this one joined in. And yes, I am going to verify, trust myself, but I also verify that I did not get anything, no solder, excess solder joints there. Actually, it looks like it's pretty thin on the solder there. So we'll get a little bit extra into that. Just like that. Those two connections are done. Yay. Work on getting our other two prepped as well. Get those soldered on. Yeah, we're going. And I apologize for, like I said, for not being as chatty right now. You guys know when it comes to wiring, it starts getting a little fiddly, and I got to concentrate a little bit so I don't screw things up. Like apparently that. That's how you cut wires in half. Please tell me more. Good news is I need another leg anyhow for the for doing the this is a test and only a test. Yeah, this is a test. I will probably screw this up once or twice. It's all good. Till I'm out of wire. Okay, sounds good. We're getting there. One solder joint at a time. We're getting there. There's still no pizza. Uh-oh. A ring doorbell and still no pizza. They better not mess up and stand up the Disney princess. It's going to be bad if the Disney princess has to start throwing hands. There's one. We're getting better at this. And no, we need that one. We need this one. And I was like, oh, I did so good at that one. No, I didn't. Forward when you're hungry and you're going to promise to be nice. Okay. Doable, but you got to get a good tight twist on it to not leave dangling. 22, 24 gauge would have been the best. But we're We're working with what we got. I have 22 and 24, but trying desperately to keep the gauge up on the powers, you know. I think those two are good. Let me. Oh, pizza's on the way. Pizza's on the way. Runs no drips no errors. Good. Because those are the fiddly ones trying to do the last ones there on the receivers. Now, the next two that we're going to do is basically cutting this silicone down and then doing the butt joint right there. So I just need to try and figure out the maximum totality of where I need to cut. Do that splice, and then let me tell you, this is not going to be fiddly at all. Not at all. Looks of it, I can go fairly close to the ESC with these joints. I don't have to like be really frugal in my planning here. To give myself some lead. Hmm, trying to pay attention to the notifications and the doorbell because, like I said, they are on the way. Depends on whether or not this guy's been to the house before or not as to how long you take. Um, what's our plan? Take these two and join them. Need a little bit more of heat shrink. Okay, so now we're gonna just do some, we'll say some standard. We're gonna pin both ends, and then we'll work on getting them touching and joining. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Work. You got it? Awesome, Bexy. Yeah, mine should be here any minute now. It's left and it's en route, so I'm with you. Pizza's coming soon. Heat in over that joint. If not, I'm gonna have to pop that back apart. We're gonna have to put in a little bit larger piece of heat shrink tubing there. No worries though. Be right back, folks. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna put you on mute. Okay, I'm back. I want to try and get this one solder joint. Oh, I did manage to get it done. Solder joint A done. Not coming out the way I wanted it. All right, let me think on that, how I want to do this. But folks, I've got what pizza did I get? I got a Domino's hand tossed extravaganza. Um, exactly. Where everybody knows your name. Hey, is that DL3D? Welcome in, welcome in. Doing well. I do apologize though. I know you just got here, but I am going to have to call my stream early tonight. Um, One, I need to figure out a couple of things on this wiring real fast. Whoops, give me one second. Alexa, stop. And then two, I do have to go and jump back online and do some more work stuff, set up some meetings. Uh, yeah, I've got some things I got to do for my VP. So yeah, enjoy the night and the hot pizza. I will do that. Let me figure out if anybody is on that we can raid into. Let's see who I might be following that's on. We got the Jane, Baker Deck, Sid Hersey, the artist Amelia, and she appears to still be painting, and that's good to know. Because gaming night, we'll just say is 18 and over. We got Astro Canuck on. You guys want to jump over to Astro Canuck? We haven't been on, or we haven't ran into him in a while. Uh-oh, is Bob picking on you again? Ah, I got a hot pizza. That's true, I did. And I not only got pizza, but I may have gotten one of Domino's like cookie brownie things. Hey, Maker Mind, how you doing? You're tracking with your coffee cup tonight. Yeah, I can imagine that he had an awesome stream during the eclipse. But yeah, let's go ahead. I'll set up a raid over to Astro Canuck. And I appreciate everybody for being here and hanging out with me tonight. I know it's a short one. I'm going to try and be back tomorrow night and we'll do a little bit more fiddling around with something. Maybe trying to finish this up, maybe not. But thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Those that shared some bits, thank you so much. Bexy Beans, thank you for coming in. It's so nice to see you, other than the few times I get to uh, see you and chat with you on Maker Stream. So it's always fun to harass them. So thank you, thank you. And we'll see, like I said, probably tomorrow night. I will not be streaming Thursday night because Mrs. Dragon's coming in, and I am streaming Saturday. So thank you all, everybody. And let's raid out to Astro Canuck. You guys have a great night. Bye now.